What up, though, my Afro? Focus, people. Let's stay focused. Your boy Tone Chill Chill. I'm a little under the weather. Came down with a little something yesterday. So I'm looking a little cray cray. But I wanted to talk about, the NBA. Or I wanted to give you guys a chance to talk to me about the NBA. Ooh. Ooh. So I wanted to give you guys a chance to, on your input because my opinion doesn't matter. Well, let me not say that. Let me say this. My opinion is mattering to someone because um, somebody wants some money off of me or off of what I said. Yo, Tone, thanks, bro. Somebody want $1,000. Ninja Chris wrote me and said he wanted $1,000. Now, I want to reiterate. I don't. I don't. Promote you guys to go out and make bets on the game. However, and if you do, I don't ask for your money or anything like that. Because if you lose money, then I don't want to be the blame for it. You feel me on that? I don't want to be the person that, because it's happened. Last year we had some losers, and some people were like, "I lost money," and I was like, "So?" I also lost some subs because of it, but that's how YouTube is. It's fickle. Sometimes you guys are fickle. Sometimes y'all's fickle. Y'all love when I'm winning. That's not true. I got some very loyal subs who don't even watch these sports. They're just here. And PR Beauty is one of them, if she's still around. I think she is. She's just busy, so she hasn't been here in a while. But, and I got some subs that, they dip off when things don't exactly go, I don't know. They just dip off. And I don't really come at them like, "Yo, why you dip off on me?" Because I just don't. That's what they choose to do. Sometimes y'all dip off. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, ain't right. Then y'all go to, I'm playing my visual game. Then y'all go to Tony, Tell It Like It Is, or, I don't know, y'all go somewhere. And I'm cool. So, you guys don't place your bets on what I say. And once again, I do not gain anything off of what I say, not unless I make a little $10, $20 bet with someone. Now, I've already made a video of how one of the subs, who was a troller, kind of spotted him early too. He tried to renege on a bet, and yes, this is my music. And you guys know I don't play that. Don't sit up here and sell me wolf tickets and then renege. Or I don't want to bet because la 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 la. You know what I'm saying? The Bucks is, the Bucks is all that. Shoot, the Bucks might take it all. That's not my prediction, but the Bucks might take it all. The Bucks is looking, there's a guy in this. They looking strong. However, they don't have the star power, but they look strong. They look contender-ish, but they don't have. You feel me? They don't have the flash. Yeah, they don't have the chutzpah. You know that Steph Curry and crew have. They don't have the moniker. You know what I'm saying? They don't have that name. They just don't. Sorry. It's just like that, you know. They don't have that name. You need that name. You need that. You need that name, you guys. What I mean by that name is you need that one person who has that name on your squad that can bring in plenty of eyeballs. Now, a lot of you guys are going to say Kawhi Leonard is that name, or whoever it is for, the Bucks is that name. No. No. No, they're not. You really think I'm not going to spot what you're doing? Okay. You're not that name. You need that name. And if you don't have that name, then you're going to have yourself some major issues. And they don't have that name, so they don't got that name to fame. Curry's too good. What up with you? They don't have that name. So I just wanted to say that. To all you guys. Let you guys know. Okay. Some of y'all don't realize that you gotta have that you gotta have that profile name, or you can forget it. And some people don't realize that. They don't really realize that. Steph Curry is a name, he's a brand. And if you don't have that name brand going on, you can forget it. It's lights out for you. Period, point blank. You ain't got that name, it's over for you. But yeah, I just wanted to say that. Another thing is, when it comes to betting on these games, you guys, when you're doing all this betting, I mean that's cool. That's cool. But make sure you take responsibility, or you're responsible for your bets, because you have that type of energy going out there too. You gotta be responsible. You know what I'm saying? Some of you guys, I don't think you guys know what that is. Some of y'all think y'all young-minded, and you know I'm cool. I'm cool to a point with the fact that some of y'all is young, but I'm not cool with. Here's what I'm not cool with. I'm not cool with some of y'all being young and irresponsible. Be responsible. Be responsible. Because that's your money, that's your life. That's what I'm saying. Be responsible. Be responsible for what you do. Because they looking at you. Like betting $1,000, if you ain't got that type of cheese, bro, ham. Don't even do it, because that's a lot of jack. You ain't gonna catch a boy in the game like that. Nah, big dog. I'm not in the game like that. I can't do it. I can't be in the game like that. A G? Nah, not me. I'm not even trying to be in the game like that. You feel me? But then again, that's me. That's me. I'm not trying to be in a game like that. I'm not trying to be heavy like that. That's heavy. $1,000? Nah, bro. That's heavy. That's real heavy. That's real heavy. So be careful with those, bets. That's another reason why I don't go over that much money. Because I don't want the boys to come looking for me. You know what I'm saying? The taxes and whatnot. I don't want to make this a betting channel. Just want to make this kind of a, get a burger. $20. Treat your girl out. You know what I'm saying, guys? And for the ladies, treat your guy out, your homeboy, your friends, whatever. It's that type of vibe. It's not a, you know what I'm saying? But $1,000, shoot. Pay your rent off of that. That's some rent right there. Now, could I make that kind of money? Probably. Probably. I mean, can I go in that direction? I probably could comfortably start throwing down those type of numbers and win. But the problem I have with it is there are too many fakes on the channel. Too many people making false claims. You know what I'm saying? they lose and they don't want to pay. You know, I've had that happen so many times. And it just, you know what I'm saying? Lose and don't want to pay. And then they want me to, I don't know, give them a second chance, give them an all in. One guy was like, all or nothing. It's like, why would I bet you again and you won't give me my money the first time? Let's go all or nothing next year. Like, click. You a fraud. We don't do frauds over here. Mr. Alex Davis is a fraud. So be careful when it comes to betting. You know what I'm saying? You know, if you win that money, cool. If you don't, please don't come over here with the issue. At any rate, I think the Bucks are the number one seed. They're gonna beat the Raptors. I feel bad for the Raptors because the Raptors are not only gonna lose to the Bucks. Well, let's just say this: if the Raptors lose to the Bucks, I believe they will. But if they do, guess what? They're gonna lose Kawhi Leonard too. And the Raptors, they're not slated to win. They're just good contenders in the off season or in the regular season. They're just good contenders. But when they lose, like when they lose this time, it's gonna hurt. Like, let me. I wish I could put it into perspective, because the hope that they have, especially now that Mr. Clutch hit him with that. You know, listen. Yeah, man, it sucks for them every year. But listen. It's gonna suck for them more this year than it did last year. Last year they got swept and they were number one, got swept, and it was over. And it was like, damn, how y'all get swept? But they got swept by the King. Listen, they didn't get swept by the Pacers, who were out in the first round. They didn't get swept by you know what I'm saying, the Celtics. Okay, you know, the Celtics, still good. But the Celtics weren't going to do anything last year. Even though Terry Rozier, the Celtics only got hyped because, you know, somebody had to fill some shoes. That's really what happened here. But let's be for real or be for Roni. You got swept by the King. Okay? You got swept by the King. You got swept by Cleveland. All right? That's a whole different ball of wax. If I'm going to get swept, let me get swept by the King. Let me at least swallow my pride, because I know that my team is not slated to win. I know this. They got swept by the King. I can eat that. We got swept by the King. This year, listen, this year, if they get beat, they got two teams to get beat by, right? They got one who are the national champions. So if they go to the championship and get beat by the national champions, nobody really is going to have an issue. They're going to be like, you guys are Toronto, man. You made it to the championship. Big ups. You feel me? but then getting swept by the Bucks. Let's drink that in. You get swept by the Bucks. Let's just contemplate that real quick. You get swept by the Bucks. How good are the Bucks? How good are the Bucks to sweep, to say, we got swept. It's okay. I don't know. I'm gonna say this. You don't want to get swept by the Bucks. You don't want to get swept by the Bucks. I'm just gonna say that. You don't want to get swept by them because it's almost inexcusable, even though they're the number one seed. But listen, it's not about who you get swept by this year. It's not about that. You know what it's about? You know what it's about? Here's what it's about. You got beat. Good, sweet. No, Golden State. Yeah. But here's what it's about. Here's what it's about. Here's what it's about. You don't get swept by the Bucks, right? You don't get swept by the Bucks. You play good, right? You in there. The Bucks is in there. Everybody, you in there, right? Boom. But after you get beat, after you get your ass handed to you by the Bucks, you lose Kawhi Leonard. And when you lose him, because you're only on a one-year contract, but when you lose Kawhi, you lose him like Cleveland lost LeBron the first year. The first time they lost him. You don't lose Kawhi to fanfare. You don't lose Kawhi to a whole, bevy of news and reporters and things of that fashion. That's not what you do. You don't lose Kawhi like that. You lose Kawhi. Here's how you lose Kawhi. You lose Kawhi to the quiet. Quiet. Quiet as heck. He dips on you in the quiet. That's what he does. He just quietly dips on you. And you're like, wait, what? What happened to Kawhi? He dipped on you. Yeah, y'all ain't know? Y'all didn't know. Kawhi dipped on you. And now you look extra stupid. Extra stupid. Because now you don't only not have a team for next year, you're completely, done for. Even for next year. You're done. You're done. It's over. I'll kill this guy. You're completely done for. Yeah, I just got my ass kicked. Trying to do two things at once. So, uh, they lose him. No one's gonna go. And that's what I'm saying. It's a greater loss this year than it was last year. And listen, they're either set up to be the greatest team right now, with Kawhi Leonard being Michael Jordan-esque, because they're already talking about that, and him having a listen. They're either set up to be the team to beat, the team that took over the championships in the East, the team that replaced Cleveland. They're either set up to be a dynasty. And look. It's this is how fragile. This is how fragile it is. Because if let's just look at the scenario like this. Let's look at a scenario like this. With Kawhi being there, he has the. It's like the Game of Thrones. He has the name. He has the pedigree. He's doing everything right. He could be king of the East, right? Kawhi could be king of the East, and he could be, he could sit on the throne. Point blank. If he can stop the Lannisters, Steph Curry and crew, some kind of way. Now, but here's the thing about Kawhi Leonard. He's kind of like a Jon Snow. Does he want it? See, we're not really sure if Kawhi Leonard wants it. Because last year, what Kawhi Leonard proved to us is he was on a playoff team in the West. He was on a playoff team. Of course, they were old, Tony Parker and Ginobili, but he was on a Popovich can get somebody to help you out. He didn't really care. He didn't. And see, now it's even more fragile for him and his career and for Toronto because they could take it all. If they take it all, everybody will be talking about them next year. Not only that, they're going to attract more people. Winners attract winners. That's just that. He could set himself up to be like LBJ. And so he could be like, okay, boom, we're over here winning. We won a championship. We won a national championship. First one. This is what I want. He could say, I want to be in this commercial, that commercial, get more money outside of the contract, get more contracts. That's, of course, but then he can look at Paul George and be like, what's popping? I know you're a little older, but come over here on a 1-year contract. He could tell the GMs, I want a couple guys over here on 1 and 2-year contracts. And you can get some hack and smack dudes. Like old boy from I forgot what his name is. He's a hack and smack dude. Little dark skinned dude. You know what I'm saying? He's too quiet. He's very quiet. But nonetheless, he's quiet, but he's still doing stuff on the low. Like Sansa, she quiet, but she doing stuff on the low. But this dude, this guy, he's Jon Snow all the way. He is. He could be that deal in the East. But you don't know because he doesn't have the chutzpah to say, I'm going, he ain't talking big game. He's not on fire. He's just going out there. He's playing well, but you just don't know where he's going, where he stands. Whose side he's really on, and that's just the truth. Are you going to stay in the north, or are you going to head down south? Look, what are you going to do? So, and it's so dangerous because if Kawhi actually puts forth the effort and goes out there and banked it out, drops, four real quick on the Bucks and be like, you don't have a chance. He was the high scorer in the last game. He scored 31 points. That's between both teams. You know what I'm saying? See, there's a danger in that. There's a danger when you're constantly the high scorer. I'm telling you, he's like LeBron. He's like LeBron was with Cleveland. When he's on the floor, everybody's doing good. When he's not, Raptors go. They're not even playoff contenders, and that there's a danger in that. They're setting him up just like LBJ. They really, 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 really are. But there's a danger in that because when you leave the floor, your team ain't squat. And you know what happens? See, this is the difference between him and LBJ. LeBron James was loyal to Cleveland and he begged Cleveland for years, get me a bench. And when Cleveland didn't get him a bench, he finally said, I had it. I'm going to Miami. I'm going to, me, Savannah, and the kids, we're going to Miami. We about to have a good time and go down there and win 2 championships. And then when Cleveland was like, come back, he was like, if I come back, this is what I want. And you see what they did. They gave him exactly what he wanted. Kawhi Leonard, he's not on fire like that. He's not a manager. He's not somebody who steps up. Why do you think he didn't play back-to-back games in the regular season? Who, LeBron James or Kawhi Leonard? Who you talking about? I don't watch the games, so who didn't play back-to-back games? You have to be talking about Kawhi. Yeah, you have to be talking about him because LeBron stays on the court. Listen, I don't really follow Kawhi Leonard other than, what the media talks about him and the things that he does. If I was to speculate, though, why didn't he play back-to-back games? See, I think the contracts that they have are a lot like 360 contracts in music. You know what I'm saying? I think these contracts are put out there and it's up to the rapper to put out this great music, right? To perform, right? And then what happens is the companies get upset with you for one reason or another and they want to drop you, so they stop promoting you. But nonetheless, they still want you to put out more music because you're under contract. You owe us 2 more albums. So this is why you see rappers who, come out 10 years later and put out 2 more albums because they're under contract and the albums ain't that good. What I'm saying is, I think Kawhi Leonard, he's one of those guys that said, if I feel like playing, or if I feel like playing well now, I'll go out and play. We clearly see he's a feel-like person. He's not somebody who is dedicated to a team. He's dedicated to himself. He's a feel-like, I don't feel like it. We've seen the same thing in Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose had a breakdown of some sort, he caught a case. Then everybody start coming after him after he got that $48 million contract. So I think Kawhi Leonard learned. I think he's quiet because he's smart. It's not to say all smart people are quiet, but I think, obviously he does have some kind of decent IQ because of where he's at in life and the way he's playing the system. I think Kawhi Leonard's playing a system just like an older and more intelligent rapper who already sees the way it goes, or any musician sees how the music industry operates and says, okay, I know you're not going to push my album real hard, but I owe you this under contract. So I'll give it to you, but I'll give you the B-side. I'll give you a whole album of B-side songs just to put an album out there. I'll do what I feel like. And I think that's what Kawhi Leonard is doing. He does what he feels like. I'm sorry that's a long winded answer, but this is from what little I know off of what I see of Kawhi and what he did last year. I can only deduce he's a feel like player. He's not a Ginobili. He's not a Tony Parker. He's definitely not a LeBron James. LeBron James is blood, sweat, and tears. And that's the reason why he's so successful. Because he says what he means and he means what he says. Kawhi Leonard is, you don't know where he is. He's and if he goes to the Lakers, he's not gonna stay there. He learned off of the older players. You know, he did exactly what he needed to do to get where he's at. He's wildly successful. He's famous. He's rich. Uh, Anybody who wants him has to buy him out. He's young. He's got a great pair of knees. You gotta understand that he doesn't have any injuries. He doesn't have any major injuries. What's his injury? He sat out a whole year, and can somebody tell me what his injury is? What's his injury? He doesn't have no major injuries. He's set. He's got everything a basketball player needs. Everything. Everything straight down the line. He is perfect straight down the line. But he doesn't have that. That's the one thing he does. He doesn't have that zeal to make you go, I'll follow him. He doesn't have that leadership quality. You know, he's not an a-hole like some of the leaders. You know, Kobe Bryant wasn't the best example of leadership off the court, but on the court, Michael Jordan sucked off the court. He hit his own teammate in practice, but on the court, he was a great leader. You know, you had other examples of leadership. Charles Barkley was a leader, but wasn't a great person on or off the court. But he was great at the sport. So you have those people who are leaders and stepped up to the plate. They weren't necessarily likable all the way around by their teammates, but they led them to championships. They got them boys rings. They got them money. And they kept getting them money. They were feeding their family. Like, you don't have to like me. You're not here to like me. I'm not your friend. But nonetheless, what is your contract this year? Scottie Pippen, what's your contract this year before you went to where, the Blazers? What's your contract this year, Scottie? How many rings do you got? If there's no me, there's no you. That's just that. You gonna ball into your knees, give out, and that's it. And that's what happened. So you gotta understand, Kawhi's in a great leadership position. He can take the East and make something of the East, which he's already doing. And he can break the trend of Toronto not winning the championship if he can get past the Bucks and past the Warriors, which is steep. But nonetheless, if he does, so they finally win a championship in another country and the East, and now you're that dude. Now you draw other players towards you who are like, I want to go play in Toronto. That's just the way it is. There's not much of a doubt of why you want to go out there, because they finally won a championship. Nobody wanted to go out there because they wasn't winning. Y'all wouldn't let them win. But now that they're winning and they got a young, high caliber leader out there, who's not going to sign with them? They know they can get a ring now instead of getting embarrassed like last year. They got embarrassed last year twice. They got embarrassed. They got the score ran up on them and they got swept. It's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. So that's the fragility of Kawhi Leonard right now. he's in a very, very fragile state. And there's a lot of responsibility that's going to be heaped upon him. It already is. And I think he's realizing that now. And I'm hoping he doesn't tuck tail and, dip off. I hope he doesn't do the Derrick Rose and just don't show up. Because basketball needs Kawhi Leonard. You know what I'm saying? That whole sport needs that one person. They need him. They need him to hit more clutch shots. They need him to come out and, hit 34, 35. Hell, look, listen. You know what I think is going to happen? So next game, I think they win game 2. I predicted they lose game 1, win game 2, lose game 3, win game 4, lose game 5 and 6. They're done in 6. That's what I predicted. So that means they're going to win this next game, whenever it is, tonight or tomorrow, right? Here's what I predict. I think Kawhi Leonard is going to have not only the high score, he's going to break his own, like he's going to hit like 50 or something. 45 or 50. It's going to break whatever record he has. And it's going to be all over the news. Oh, Kawhi hit 45, 50. He went off, blah, blah, blah. He torched the Bucks by 15 points. What will the Bucks do? Giannis, and they fell apart. All this Stephen A. Smith nonsense. It's just going to be all hype. Then the next game, they're going to come back and they're going to lose. That'll put them at 2-2. Then they're going to lose again, and you're going to start seeing how they're going to start crucifying them. When they lose that next one, because I think it's going to be a seesaw, but when they lose game 5, it's going to be, what happened to Kawhi? Yada, yada, yada. He couldn't get open, and he'll have 35 points. He couldn't get open, yada. And this is how you see how the game is fixed. Because you're going to be listening to the announcers, and you're going to look at his score, and he's going to be like triple-double, whatever that means, and he's going to have 35 points, be the high scorer of the whole game, and they're still going to talk bad about him. Yeah, and they're going to talk trash on him. They fell apart, yada, yada, yada. And somebody's going to come. Max Ellerman, because he's a numbers guy, he's going to be like, wait a minute, Kawhi had 35 points. He had, 15 rebounds. He had, 10 assists. What are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? What are you talking about? He had a great game, which is, he'll start bringing up other people, at their age and what they did, and yada, yada, yada. He'll be like, Kawhi's having a great year. Like, he's doing great in the play. He's doing better in the playoffs than LeBron James did, because we know LeBron James went missing in 2 playoffs. He literally was on the court looking around like he was doing a James Harden on defense. Looking around like James Harden, the balls, just went right past you. So Kawhi Leonard, he's going to really do good in game 5, and they're going to torch him. And when they torch him, guys realize right there and then it's a script. And then the next game, they're not going to, the next game, they're going to nail him. And if they do that, he's going to exit. If he lose, and listen, when they lose in game 6, it's going to be close. It's going to be a woulda, coulda, shoulda. It's going to be a Cody Parkey. It really is. It's going to be a Cody Parkey move. Which was the Bears lost, their ticket to go to the division championship because Cody Parkey's kick. He missed the kick, but he found out that it was deflected. So it's going to be a coulda, woulda, shoulda. And some people are going to praise him, but most people are going to nail him to a cross. When they do that, and Kawhi sees that, he's gonna be like, "Got you, you fair weather ass friends, you fair weather ass fans." He's gonna dip, and you know what? The bitterness that he's gonna have, he's gonna keep throughout his whole career. Kawhi Leonard is going to be an island. That's exactly what's going to happen. He's going to be his own island. And every team is going to know it. Every team, every teammate, everyone who watches, they're going to be like, where will Kawhi go this year? And he's going to take minimum contracts on purpose. Because LeBron James was doing it. He's going to take minimum contracts. But I don't want a 5-year contract with you. We'll give you 205. I don't care about that. I don't care about that. Give me a $54 million contract for 2 years. You already did it. You already did it at Golden State. KD had a $54 million contract. You did it for him. Then you turned around and paid Steph Curry 200 and whatever million, and it still didn't equate to what KD was making. And Steph Curry is the poster child. So let me get this right. You underpaid someone who's been on Golden State, won a champion before the new MVP came in, was the MVP before the MVP came in, and is still here and is faithful to you before you gave him a big $200 million contract, and you underpaid him, and you paid the new guy, the charlatan from Oklahoma, more in less. How faithful do you think I'm about to be to you? Because that's exactly what you did. That's what you did to Steph Curry. The man who was holding it down beforehand. Heck, you guys got people on the court who make $3 million this year. Zaza Pachulia was making $3 million. And he was out there hacking and smacking people down. $3 million. 3. Nah. I keep telling you, Derrick Rose is one of the smartest people in basketball. Because once he realized the game, he went wherever he felt like going. He did whatever he felt like doing, and he's still doing. He plays for Washington now. And you see, look, this year he was good. Last year he was good. He goes wherever he wants. That's the new style of player that you have. I call them millennial players. That's something I just made up. That's a millennial move. I don't feel like working today. Kawhi Leonard, I mean, you asked me why didn't he play? He didn't feel like it. And what are they going to tell him? You know how many more tickets they're selling because he's sitting on the bench? Now how many more tickets that Steph Curry sells for Golden State because he's sitting on the bench? Because Steph Curry is on the bench acting a fool and jumping up and down and all that. They sell more tickets because he's there than if he wasn't. It's coonery. It's coonery, and it's paying them millions. Kawhi Leonard is not with the coonery. He ain't. You ain't never seen Kawhi Leonard stand up and dance around. Look at the celebration when he hit the buzzer beater. He hit it, and he was like, yeah, yeah. And he calmed down real quick. He looked like that other boy from the Lakers, that new kid from the ball dude, Lonzo Ball. Whenever his team got in a fight, Lonzo was like, he's like, they ain't got nothing to do with me. It's like they're your teammates. Lonzo Ball didn't want to fight. They jumped right on him. Yo, you get in there when he was like, I don't really, I got a $500 shoe, you know, coming. I don't really care. But that's what I'm saying. That's Kawhi Leonard's whole personality. He not with the coonery. So I think he's either a very smart individual and he's thinking after basketball and he's thinking above basketball, which I really think that's what he's doing. I think Kawhi is thinking past basketball at a very young age. And he's learning from his predecessors. He's learning from all the crap that the NBA has done to very good people. You know, and not to mention, he learned from people who played for the Raptors and didn't go anywhere. He learned from last year. Heck, wasn't Stephon Marbury, didn't he play for the Raptors? Him and his cousin. The one dude they say was better than Kobe Bryant. He played out there too. And what happened? He got burned out. Burned out. Got out there, did all that, and didn't win a championship. And should have. So I think Kawhi sees that. I'm just being honest. I think he stepped back and looked at the whole thing. He looked at Popovich. And he looked at burned out Tony Parker. And he was like, you and Ginobili are 40. What y'all gonna do next year? What are you two gonna do next year? He just looked at him like, you two ain't gonna make it another year. Not together, and that's exactly what happened. One of them retired. So he was looking at how much he is gonna be on him. Even though he had a huge contract. You know? He was thinking past the NBA. Like, if I stay here, will I win a championship? And do I care? So how do I get the maximum amount with the least effort? I'm under contract now. How do I get the maximum amount out of the NBA with the least amount of effort? Here's the answer. Derrick Rose. I play at superstar caliber status for a short time. This makes them feed me money and then give it to me in contracts. Oh, really? He didn't want to go to the... Wow. Now, see... All right. My nose is running. I'm going to blow my nose. But I got to get on that right there. Hold on a second, guys. Hold on a second. That's interesting right there. That's interesting. I'm coming. All right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about that. See, okay, Zion want to play for the Knicks. Let him go to the Knicks. Let him and KD go to the Knicks. Pay that man and let him go to the Knicks. Okay, so here's a couple things to unwrap about that. For one, that beat is hard. Okay, for one, Zion Williams, the hottest pick in the draft. Nobody can dispute that. He is the hot ticket in the draft. 2, Zion Williams has a knee. Let's put it out there. He's a little overweight. He doesn't have the best skills, but he won a championship. They pretty much fed it to him. He's the most dynamic player, not as in his skills are so dynamic, but his dynamite-ism. He has the best dynamite-ism coming into the draft, right? Point blank, everybody wants to know what he's going to do because he's the flashiest person that we expect to get out there and do something. Unlike Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball came in the game, but he had somebody else, I think from Syracuse, who was playing better than him. So we didn't expect too much out of Lonzo, but we did expect more than what he gave us. Okay. So when you look at Zion and him making the choice, okay, so this is big because Chicago Bulls want not a bad choice. It would be better if Lonzo went to Chicago because Chicago's market is the most popular market that there is. However, they're not as tumultuous as LA. See, you can go to Chicago and fail and not get castigated. But you go to LA and fail, that's different. You know what I'm saying? You can't go to LA and be a failure. They not having that. They not having that. So that's 2 different markets. Chicago, you can go to Chicago, fail, dust yourself, you know what I'm saying? Dust yourself off, get in the game. And Chicago would be like, okay, we see you. You coming back, you doing your thing. LA is just like LA. It's just like the movies. You get one shot. That's why, actors who make a comeback and do good, it's a big deal because it just doesn't happen that often. So, but Zion, when you look at Zion and all of his qualities and all of his flaws, and all the expectation, he did what people didn't expect him to do. So you think Lakers gonna win it next year? No. Oh, let me say this. I would have to. Here's why I can't call it right now. Here's why I can't call it. One, because we don't know where Zion's gonna go. We don't know who. We don't. Okay, let me say this. In the West, we know who the juggernaut in the West is, right? I would have to see Golden State fall apart. I would have to see them fall apart. Injuries, somebody talking about somebody else's mama, somebody slept with somebody's wife, they fall out like a bunch of housewives, like one of them corny shows where the actors aren't really actors. We would have to see something like that happen, and we started to see it. We know that there's tension there. We know that Green and KD don't like each other. And we know that Green's mom, she don't keep her mouth shut. She ain't no joke. We know that Green, you think Zion gonna go to the Lakers? And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. We don't know what he's gonna do. Okay, so let's look at the potential of the Lakers. Let's look at this. What the Lakers have right now, no, they're not going anywhere. They're gonna have the same record. But let's look at the potential of the Lakers from draft to exiting the championship. Let's say that Golden State keeps the team that they have. No big deal. Why not keep it the same way it is? Keep winning championships. Who cares what everybody else has to say, right? Get that money. Go for 6, right? Boom. But let's look at the potential of the Lakers stepping in. One, you got LeBron James. A big ticket draw, he draws superstars to him, right? Boom. So you got that going on. You got Zion Williams who can come in and take over some of the work LeBron has to do. You know what I'm saying? You can burn him out for the first 2, 3 years. You can work him. He'll do it. He young. He'll do it, right? You keep his knees right. He'll do it. Work Zion. And then this year you have Kawhi Leonard losing to the Bucks in a dominant fashion. Let's say they get swept by the Bucks. Kawhi Leonard is leaving. That's it. If they get swept like they did last year, but they got swept by the King last year, but if they get swept, if they get swept and beat by 30, you know what I'm saying? Like they get kicked around like the Lakers did to them last year and ran up the score and they wanted to fight him. You were right, Houston. Humans got smoked. And Harden is a girl. Look, I told y'all that was gonna happen. But let's just let's just say Kawhi Leonard goes out there, gives his best, and realize his team, the way they are now, cannot compete with the upper level. They can't do it. We can't compete with the Bucks. We can't compete with Golden State. We're finished. This is as far as we're gonna go with this team. And most of it is incumbent on me. I scored 34. I was a high scorer of the last game. This was yesterday. Let's say that Kawhi gets torched and he still scores 40 and 35 and all that. And he's going, we just got swept and I gave it my best. Where can I go and at least get a ring? Because remember, Kawhi is a millennial basketball player. So he's thinking self, right? I think Kawhi gonna go to the Lakers and they're gonna trade AD and they're gonna. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So if they get a big three, listen, that's not only a big three, that's two young guys who can, you know what I'm saying, with not serious medical problems, who can at least get you two more. That's a dynasty. That's a dynasty. Once LeBron is done, you know what I'm saying? Once LeBron is done, he knows them two youngers is going to get him a ring. He don't care. That's a dynasty you're looking at right there. That's a potential dynasty. That's why I say right now I can't really tell until the playoffs is over, or at least until we see what Kawhi is going to do. And if Kawhi goes to the Lakers and draws Zion, then the answer is absolutely. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, let me read it. I want Kawhi and the Lakers, man. I need that. Big ups to, yeah, big ups is, yeah. Show enough. Let me get my glasses. You guys, hold on a second. I think I got a pair in here. Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. Let me get my specs real quick. You guys know I got some issues with the eyeball, so. Okay, so big up to Israel. Been around for the longest time. Thank you, brother. Good family, man. He says, I want Kawhi and the Lakers. Man, I need that too. Yeah, big ups to you, homeboy. Why don't you leave your glasses on, old man? Well, the reason why I don't leave these on is because when I focus, you know, it strains my eyes. So I can like, boom, read, and then, you know, that's why, young man, you know what I'm saying? I wear these glasses because it stops the blue lights from hurting your eyes, you know, because I stare at the screen a lot. So, you know, but I appreciate you, King Sir. Big ups to you and your fam. Tell the wife happy Mama's Day and all that good stuff right there. Appreciate you. Uh, so yeah, do the Lakers have potential? See, the thing about the Lakers is the Lakers have a purse. They have a purse. You understand that? Not every team has a purse. The Lakers can go into luxury tax and be like, so what? Jack Nicholson comes to our games. He's a season ticket holder. You know what I'm saying? So what? We got One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest up in this piece all the time. We got money. They got money. They can go into luxury tax and be like, who cares? As long as we start winning. So you're going to, under Mark Jackson as the coach, right, you're going to start, okay, so what they're doing is they're getting rid of what's his name? Ty Lue, right? They're getting rid of Ty Lue. Wasn't Ty Lue the coach for Cleveland? Dude, when are they going to give Curry 4 rings and Kevin 3? And now people will, why are they going to give Curry 4 and Kevin 3? Now people will think that they are bigger than Bron. So is he not the face of the NBA anymore? Who will be the new face? Okay, that is an excellent question. All right. What you're talking about is changing another guard, right? Who's going to be the new face? So our boy LBJ is 34, 35, on his way out. He's got other things cooking up. But you got to understand this. You have players who play till 40, 41. Just look at, Tony Parker and them. The guys are 40. So LeBron still got arguably 5 or 6 years still in the game. So to say that we're talking about changing of the guard this year, just because he's not in the playoffs for the first time in a long time, I can't say that's all the way his fault. And when you're talking monetarily, LeBron brings in more eyeballs than anybody else. So he's still king of the hill. However, his contract is like 156 or something like that. You guys know better than I do. But his contract that he got for LA is less. His contract is less than a James Harden. It's less than Steph Curry's and it's less than KD's. You know what I'm saying? So, I hope not. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope not. That would be almost disappointing because you need the Celtics. See, Kyrie Irving, for one, his daddy played out there. So he's doing the whole legacy thing. But Kyrie Irving is needed in the East. He's needed in the East. His position out there is needed. He's that name. Best point guard that there is in the game, I think, right? He's the best point guard that there is. He's the star on that team. They had been to the playoffs for the last, 2 years? Yeah, it would just, see, it would make things lopsided. Look, things are already, okay, let's do this. Knicks and Celtics, they said, okay, let's do this. Let's take out KD. Just take him out. Everything evens up. Almost, doesn't it? If you took KD out, even if you put him back with Russell Westbrook. You put him back with Oklahoma. Everything kind of, it rights the ship, doesn't it? They are a super team. Golden State's a super team. That's just it. They're hard to beat without KD, but with him, it's almost impossible. It's just not even fair to even look at. And this injury he has now is so Kawhi Leonard. It's so questionable that we don't even know. None of us know what it is. We don't have a return date or anything. But my whole thing is the imbalance of the NBA. Even though I know it's fixed, it's not even fun to watch because you don't really have any hope in it. You don't have any stake in it. You really don't. You're almost voting for not so much who's going to be the champion, who's going to win the champion. I think interesting. I think it is too. You're looking at so you're looking at the number 1, 2, 10 teams. Derrick Rose buzzing in Detroit. See, Derrick Rose been getting money. That's a smart dude. So when you're looking at the top tier teams, you're like, you can guesstimate who's going to go to the championship and pretty much who's going to win. I do it every year. I'm pretty close. So the more fun. If I was a real fan of basketball, I would have more fun trying to guess who's going to win in the regular season. The middle teams, the Phoenix Suns. How many games will Phoenix win? Because right now Phoenix isn't doing anything. How many games will Cleveland win? I would be looking at those teams and going, okay, I think they're going to win 25 this year. It would be more fun to do that than to guess who's going to be the champion. Because it's so obvious. It's so obvious who's either going or going to be the championship. Other than the Bucks, I didn't see Milwaukee coming out of nowhere, but nonetheless, there they are. You know what I'm saying? There they are. So if I was a real fan, I would have more fun. Like when I don't watch football, but when I hope for teams to do well in football, I look at teams like Miami. I look at teams like New York, the Giants and stuff like that. NBA needs a new fix. NBA needs to. James is true. LeBron James is a true bum. Yeah. Well, his numbers don't say so. Golden State winning again is whack. Yeah. I mean, I'm exacerbated and I don't watch. I could imagine how you fans are really feeling. They might let the Bucks win. They'll lose a lot of money if they do. Okay, they're going to lose money anyway. So they're either going to lose money on the ratings if Golden State wins. I don't know much about Mark Jackson. So I'm just going to go ahead and agree with you. But they'll lose money on the ratings. I think this is the last Golden State. I agree. Well, I think one more is in order. Well, that would be 3. Yeah, I think they'll get 4. But it won't be consecutive. I think they'll... Okay, if... Kerr has health problems. Or are you trying to say Curry? Anyways, I think they'll get one more. I give them one more because the team is just way too dynamite. And a team like that who doesn't have Steve Kerr. Oh, okay. A team like that, yeah, he's the coach. What's his health issue? But a team like that, that is that dominant. Listen, they're not old. If they wanted to win, I'm gonna throw this out there. If they wanted to win 5 more, they could after this year. If they really wanted to win 5 more, they could. But the NBA ain't gonna let them. But they could potentially. But what they have, who's gonna stop them? Who? Listen, KD is not the best player in the league, even though he gets MVP. He's not. He's not the best player in the league. But is he a superstar? He was a superstar when he played for Oklahoma. You know what I'm saying? And now on that team, he's just shining. But he's not the best player. He's just not. But on Golden State, they got such a strong bench. They don't need to get tired. They're Kevin Gates, man. They don't get tired. They're shooting from half court. I mean, they're just torching people and not using any energy. Oh, he's not the best player. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when he played for Oklahoma, if he was that superstar of a player, he would have beat Golden State. He would have got all up. He would have been that man. He would have beat Golden State. But he had padded stats, Russell Westbrook with him. And those boys got exposed. And year after year, KD could not do it. He couldn't do it. And look what happened to him. He gave up. He's not the best player. Heck, I think Steph Curry is better than KD. I think Steph Curry is the second best player in the league. Yeah. I think actually, right now, he's the best player in the league. I think Steph Curry is the best player in the league right now. But this is from a non-fan. But Steph Curry can do everything that needs to be done at his position perfectly. And he can swing a team. Let me put it to you like this. If Steph Curry, he's got a brother that plays too. And his mom is gorgeous. I think if Steph Curry went to the worst team, that team would start winning and would be in championship contention very quickly. Very, very quickly. Yeah. Very quickly. And the thing about it is, even if they double teamed him, we've seen what happened when champions. We've seen when playoff in playoff games, we've seen when they double teamed him. We see what he did to them when they tried to trap him. You know, it was all bad. He made them look like statues. He dribbled through them, and then it's just a bad. There's no player who's doing that. LeBron James is going to run you over. You try that with him. KD is a great player, but to me, he's not the best player. But that's just me. What do I know? I don't know. To me, Steph Curry's the best player. He's a bigger too. Like, who do I want to see play more if I was gonna watch? No, I think LeBron James is so commercial. I think he's so commercial and he's commercialized that he's gonna come back to Cleveland. Now, the reason the reason why I'm saying that is not to win a championship. I don't think he's gonna come back and win a championship. I think it has nothing to do with that. But you gotta understand he has the keys to the city. Yeah, yeah. See, I think LeBron James is like now. I mean, he's a pretty settled and even kill, even balanced dude to me. You know, he's got himself in order. So I think he's calling his own shots. You know what I'm saying? And I think he'll, come out to LA. He might win one or two. And then he might say, you know what? I'm going back to Cleveland. And make an announcement he's going back to Cleveland. He won't just walk off and I'm going back to Cleveland. But you notice what LeBron James does. He switches once he wins. It's almost like I, you know, it's almost like he's bored. This is what you see smart kids do in class. You know, they accomplish something and then they go, and you see him drifting off, and you think the kid's stupid. No, the kid's smart. They're not paying attention because it's not interesting. So that's kind of what LeBron James does to me. When LeBron James was out in Miami and won those championships, I think it was more of a self accomplishment than more of a team accomplishment. It was he was playing with his homeboys. D Wade, you know what I'm saying? Gabriel Union, hang out with D Wade, his homie. His kids play together. They're both top contenders in the country. Boys are just having fun. That's why he did it the way he did. He didn't really have a lot to say about it. He was just like, I think I'm leaving. I'm gonna go have fun. You know, play with my road dog. Just playing some pickup basketball that pays you millions. And I think, to him, it's just fun now. You know, it's not as serious as it used to be. So do I think he's gonna? Nah. He's got a house out there in LA, but that doesn't mean nothing. He can sell that house and do whatever. Um, Now, do I think he'll constantly live in LA? Yes. It's a nicer place to live than Cleveland. It just is. It just is. The weather's better. It's just a better place to live. But do I think he'll come back to Cleveland? I think he'll come to Cleveland and retire. Might come back at like 39. There's LeBron James. He's 39 years old. It's LeBron James and all that money will come right back. Even though he's older, it's still he's still LeBron James. You know, he'll get those eyeballs. He'll get that company money. It's different for him. It's not contract money when it comes to the NBA. It's not. That's not. He. You already seen a drop in that. He's at 200 and something million in Cleveland. He's at 150 whatever million now. It's not the issue for him anymore. So I think he's gonna go out with a feel good in his heart. You know, even if they don't hit a championship, it doesn't. That isn't what matters because he brought them, their championship that they haven't had in like 50 years. So for him to retire there and retire his jersey there, or get around in with his son, you know what I'm saying? I think it's just a better story. And then he can focus on all his philanthropy and his other businesses and pizzas and all that. He'll still have, he's, got commercials, and that's not going anywhere. So it just makes more sense to me for him to come back to Cleveland. You know, look, I saw LeBron James in Cleveland one time. I was there, and it's when the Flats were still there. They tore them down, and I went into a club and saw him going in, and he had a couple guys with him. I seen him. I seen him twice. LeBron James doesn't travel with an entourage. I was in the same club with him. He sat up, in the VIP. The house he was there. It wasn't like a bunch of people swarmed him. They said what's up to him. He's like, what's up? Shook his hand. He's very low key. Hey, what's up? What's up? He doesn't do all this partying, a bunch of people. He doesn't do that. Shows up in a Maybach, pulls over. They know who he is. He's a homeboy. And that homeboy feeling, that homeboy esque persona is what drives him. I think that's what drove him to Miami, and I think that's what drove him back to Cleveland, and that's what's going to drive him back to Cleveland. That whole homeboy, this is my home. You know, there's your long winded answer, but I'm a long winded person when it comes to. I like to think things through and give a answer that follows the storyline. That way, when we both come to the understanding, it just makes sense to me that yeah, he's a homeboy, and they pay him so much money when he's there. They appreciate him. Nah, I that's not in the script. You talk about early retirement if that happens. No, that's not in the script. I can't see that either. I don't think that they brought him way out there, painted murals of him and all this fanfare just for him to be a loser. Regardless of what Stephen A. Smith says, uh, is he the greatest basketball player? That's up to you guys to decide. I can't really say he is or isn't. All I can say is he creates a hell of a wave. His synchronicity is uncanny. You know, he has the ability to polarize and capitalize on his magnetism. And that's what's so great about him. So it's not so much a matter of, can I do all this, you know what I'm saying, all this stuff, but the people follow him and he capitalizes on that. That's yes. I've been looking at different cities, and I've been looking at my financial situation, and I've been trying to figure out a place to go. When, I don't know, but I got a few countries in mind, and yeah, so I need to get it together so I can start traveling again. But travel costs money. The places I want to travel, I've been already looking them up. I've been doing that for about a year or so. Uh, plane tickets, what life is like out there, some of the countries I've been to, some of them I haven't. So I want to visit first, hang out for a couple of weeks, then come back and say yes, no, yes. You know what I'm saying? Because there is no perfect place, if you ask me. But there are places to live where you're not even noticed. Nobody is afraid of you. Nobody cares. When I tell you they don't care, I mean they don't care. They're not looking at you like you do not get that. You don't get none of that. They don't even know you're there. You'd be sitting right beside them and they don't know you. They don't care. So it's like you're invisible. And I've seen, listen, and they do the same thing with like pretty women. I've seen pretty women on a train and just gorgeous. And a guy will, come and sit down beside him and won't look at him twice because they're everywhere. And the girls don't do the whole thing like the American girls do. They don't. Oh, I'm pretty. Why aren't you trying to jump my bones? Them, those girls will surprise you because they'll be like, "We got. I'm trying to eat. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to. I'm hungry. Like they don't. The things that we care about, the rest of the world is not hung up on. Once you leave America, you find that out really, really, really quick. They're just they just don't care about the stupid things that Americans care about, and especially when you come to countries that are unstable, uh, and or recently unstable. You know, France. I've been to France. You know, I've been to the church that just burnt down, the Notre Dame, whatever that is. I've been to that church. You know, it's magnificent but brutal, and there's a lot of brutality has happened in those countries. They've done a lot of brutal things to people. So I don't have any love for them. You know, like I care about their. No, I don't because they terrorized people on purpose, and so I don't really have. Your church burned down? Okay, fine. Our churches burn down all the time. Care less. I'm not gonna cry over your church. You know. Right now they're going through a revolution. The French Revolution was a big deal. But they brought that on themselves. So right now France is not the place to go to. Uh, Most of those people are fighting because the millennials are fighting because of the 1%. They sucked all the money up and now there's no money. You know, I mean, they go to work and they're not making any money. It's because they did the same damn thing that they did, a couple hundred years ago, with the Bourgeois or whatever the hell they were called, and they had the French Revolution. The same thing is going on right now. They did the same damn thing. They sucked up all the money, and they, you know, I don't know if they really bathed in fruits and strawberries or whatever, but what they did to the people was wrong. And then they went out there and, did whatever. So now you're seeing the kind of sort of the same thing. Uh, and that's what that's all about over there. It's destabilizing because of a few people. And before that, it was a cool place to visit. When I visited over there, it was nobody really cared. It was a chill spot. I could have lived in France and been okay. Eiffel Tower is not a big deal, but I did like the fact that they had artwork just sitting out there. When you walk by, there's all these people's artwork that you could just look at, and it wasn't like somebody's gonna steal. You do that now, somebody's gonna steal your stuff. Over there, like I said, they care about different things over there because there's so many different mixtures of people. Uh, there's the Asians that come there are mostly visitors. The blacks that are there because some of them are transient, some of them are not. Some of them are children of slaves because the French invaded Africa. Uh, so, there's still some ambivalent feelings, mixed up in there. But you have a lot of Africans who have it in for Americans. So when I was over there, an African guy didn't like me and the woman I was with because we spoke English and they knew we were American. So when we were in the McDonald's, the guy in the McDonald's, I think he looked Hispanic, but he wasn't. I think he was just a light skinned black guy. And he spoke, all kind of languages. So we stepped up to the line. We waited in line. We stepped up to the line. It was our turn. Then the black guy steps up to the line. And first he asked us what we wanted. And we were like, we want this, that, and the third. Then the black guy starts speaking in French. And he was like, pretty much, why are you going to help them before you help me? And the dude was pretty much saying, they were here before you. So he was trying to cause a ruckus because he heard us speaking. He felt some kind of way. Oh, these guys are American, so, they're better than me? They're not better than me. He was trying to start some crap, is what it was. But the dude behind the counter was just like, these guys were here before you. Like, what are you talking about? So he kind of pushed them on. Now, I think that is a common perception throughout France. They probably think the black African Americans think that they're better than the French Americans or the French Africans or the African French or however you want to say that. So you have that whole dichotomy going on there, I've been to Zaragoza, Spain. Zaragoza, Spain, you don't see too many fat people. But I was only there for one night for a layover. I don't think it's a place I would want to stay. It's a very openly opinionated place. They look at like sex different than we do. They have people selling sex items right out, like in a kiosk, just out in the middle or whatever. They have the whole siesta or whatever it is where you have to take a break and the city closes, high noon. Like they really have that going on. They're more aggressive over there. So when we walk past the bank, the guards stand outside of the bank with machine guns and watch you when you're walking past. So it's different. It's different. In here, the guard stands inside of the bank. Over there, you have two armed guards with machine guns in uniform, ready to blow your head off. It's a different vibe over there. So, I lived in Germany for 2 years. Germany is a place where the white people do not hate the black people. That's one thing I want to say. This whole white and black thing is not the same everywhere. There are places where white people they could care less. They don't care. There are other places where white people are like, yes, please come over here. Teach us your culture, we'll teach you ours. But there are some places where they're just like, Germany is one of those places. You don't have a lot of complaint. Look, even when Hitler was, invading countries, he didn't really have an issue with black people as a whole. He had an issue with the Senegalese because of the wars that they fought, and then they settled in Germany, and then they start, banging out the white women. But that was the white women's fault. Hitler wanted a pure race, and he looked at it as anybody who's mixing with our bloodline, having babies, that race is not pure anymore. And he's correct. It's not pure white anymore. I don't think he was pure white anyways, but nonetheless. So that's why he had it out with the Senegalese. It didn't have anything to do with slavery. I think he imprisoned a couple of them, but a lot of them fought for Germany, So he had his own color troops. He just didn't have a issue with black people as a whole. You don't have a lot of that in Germany, but there is racism there. Where they look at you and go, "Well, you're black," and a lot of that come from the soldiers like myself who was over there. I don't have any kids over there, but had a kid during the war, and then the kid, is half black, half white, and so that kid's having some issues because Germany is mostly white, but it wasn't always like that. The European was first invaded by Africans. Well, they weren't invaded; they were first uh, occupied by darker skinned Africans. So this is why you have a lot of German, you have a lot of Scottish, you have a lot of those people are black. They're very dark. They're African. A lot of people from Scotland and all that. You would think that all these people were bagpipes and white and Scottish. Last King of Scotland. Look at the movie. It's played by Forrest Whitaker. So Europe was actually a very darker toned country. You know, but if you look at history, they're not going to tell you that. They're going to think that they'll make you think that the whole place was all Caucasoids, but Africans, all through there, and so you do have racism in Germany, but there are a lot of black people that live there. You know, New Zealand. You know, I never been to New Zealand, but then you have the whole taxes and stuff like that. So in Germany, the housing is smaller. The thing about America is bigger is better to America. You Everything got to be bigger, bigger muscles, bigger car, bigger house. You know, you know, the men have bigger this, the women have bigger. Everything is, you know, out of proportion to some ungodly state than what's necessarily needed to pretty much cope. You don't need big this, big that, but everything here is who has the bigger house, and then you have big problems when you have a big house because everybody thinks that you have money and they come for your money. They try to get you one way or another. You set yourself up as a target. This is not the same thing everywhere. There were some billionaires. I think they lived in England, and they were just taken off the planet. Somebody did both of them in, but they didn't live in this huge place. It looked like an apartment, and they were billionaires, and they lived in something that looked like an apartment. So the mindset of bigger is better is not everywhere you go. Uh, you know, you'll see that. There are some people, of course, that have big houses, but the thing about it in some of these countries, the houses that you're looking at are actually handed down from generation to generation to generation. Part of the aristocracy. Um, some of them are just part of kingships or noblemen. So you have a lot of that going on. Um, and you'll see a lot of them were, some of them are castles. I've been to two castles. So, walking in, in a castle is, I put it to you like this. I'm glad I didn't live back in those days because I would not want to live in a castle. We glorify it because we're under European rule, but castle was not the best thing to live in. Neither was a palace. It just wasn't. You have a lot of issues with those places, and some of those issues are still there today. So one of the castles I was in, King Henry VIII, or the Ape, because he was super fat. Him and Queen Elizabeth stayed in, and they wouldn't let us down into the dungeon. So whatever happened in those dungeons, the remnants is still there. Like they didn't go down there, fix stuff. There's still remnants of people who died in, I don't know, 16 or 18 or whatever it was. Still there, you know. So take that for what it's worth. But they would let you see like where the wine and drinks and all that was kept, but they will not let you into the dungeon. They're like, no, no dungeon for you. So there's that. Uh, so even if I can, yeah, if I can find an occupation, but if I can't support myself, then I'm gonna stay where I'm at. You know, one thing's holding me back is my physical condition. It's not like it's getting any better. The older I get, the more I struggle to walk up a flight of stairs. Uh, a lot of these countries, yeah, a lot of these countries, they're built, the way they build their housing is to accommodate a lot of people in very condensed areas. So if you don't have a large amount of money, which I do not, then you're not going to be able to live out on some farm some damn where, just off of your laurels. You got to have a trade that's bringing in a significant amount of money. Or if you live on a farm, you're going to be living in a barn and it's not going to be very good for you. It's going to get cold, drafty, and, you're going to be alone. And there are places like that. But if that's not what you choose, then you're going to be living in a place that has a lot of stairs, at least 2 or 3 flights. So I have to consider that, you know, built right on top of each other, right beside each other, no land in between, you own none of it. You're renting out, and sometimes you own it like a condo, but nonetheless, you have no land, there's no space. You can hear your neighbors playing music or screwing or whatever it is that they're doing, just like I can hear, the kids, when they wake up, the neighbor wakes up, I'm awake because I can hear them. So, when they go to work, I'm like, oh, okay, it's time to go to work. Just like my other neighbor over here, when they go to work, I'm up. I can hear them. So, that type of thing. And that's because of my financial position. Now, if I was some type of millionaire or had a decent amount of euros, could I find a nice chateau? Yeah, you know. Of course, you got to pay for the land. You got to pay for the tax. So you have a lot of issues here in America where you have people who once upon a time had money and they bought these really nice houses. I would go to Costa Rica, but they bought these really nice houses. But guess what? Life happened and they got older. So they're in their 70s, 80s. They're no longer working. Well, they retired. And they're not bringing in that large income, that doctor's income that they used to have, $200,000 a year, and they still live in this, colossal house and they have to keep up with it. And hopefully, the grandkids will come by and help them out, but there's no guarantee in that. They're millennials. They do what the hell they want to do. They don't really have any love for anyone. And you got yourself a problem because even though the house is paid for, the property tax is never always paid for. You can pay it up. Hell, you might even be able to pay forward on it. But eventually it's going to come back around. You know what I mean? Or they'll, let's just say that your property tax is, we'll just throw out a number, $150, you know, a month. $150 a month. That's your property tax on a nice house. I'm just throwing a number out. I don't know if it's true. So you paid $150, right? Okay, fine. Now you're retired. $150. That's huge, after you pay for all your medication because now you're sicker, you're older, and all that other stuff. Nonetheless, you get back, you're saying, I'm not going to pay my property tax. So, of course, once it adds up, it becomes, a huge problem. But being that somebody's not knocking on your door every day about your property tax like they were about the rent or something or the mortgage, you kind of let it slip. Next thing you know, you're $2,000, $3,000 in the rear. That's in 1 year. You know what I'm saying? 5 years of that, you know, you're 15 G's in the rear. That's a lot of money. Most people aren't going to recover from that. And that's how people lose their houses. So there's always that. Wherever you go, you have to pay property tax. And like I said, to live somewhere else, you have to consider all these things. Either you're going to live in an apartment, let somebody else pay the property tax, or you're going to buy yourself a spot. But if you do, you know you're going to get older. Whatever you got going on, it's going to have to keep going on. You know, it's going to have to be some residual income, or you're going to have a family that when the younger people come up, they're going to take responsibility of this. You took care of them, now they're going to take care of you, but there's no guarantee in that. And you have a lot of elderly people that are left by their own family, just abandoned, living in some 80, 90 years old. Look at what happened to Stan Lee. Stan Lee, of all people. Look what happened to him. Some guy, don't even know what his name is, decides that he wanted to take his house. And he moved Stan Lee out of his house and then set up guards so his family or anyone who came to his house, they would, pretty much gun him down. Stan Lee, 92 years old. And that's how he died. He died, and that guy didn't kill him, but nonetheless, he was abusing him. We didn't even know. He took his house and everything. And that's how they do the older people. So, these are just things I'm thinking about. Because it's just me. So, I have to consider all those things. Before I say, yeah, I'm going to go move to another country, I got to look at the system. Got to look at their healthcare system. Socialist countries, free education, free healthcare doesn't mean the best. I'm from another country. I'm a foreigner. Did I pay into your healthcare system? No. Will I receive healthcare? I don't know. If I just come to your country, do I get free healthcare? You know, how far will my degree go? There are a lot of companies out there who are making degrees, just making them up. You know what I'm saying? I have a healthcare administration degree. Haven't worked a day in healthcare. Nonetheless, I could settle somewhere and be an inspector or whatever. I could fall into a healthcare position pretty easy, actually. Because, I have a degree in it. I understand the majority of what's going on. I understand the basic skeleton of whatever it is. So if somebody say, we want you to run this doctor's office, I could go in there and be like, okay, I know exactly what I need as far as the basics. And then everything else is just gravy. It's what kind of doctor's office is it? A podiatrist, optometrist, what kind of practice, do we have? But your basics for it are the same. It's the same skeletal basics. And, yeah, so that type of thing. And then managing it is not really a chore if you got people who really are pretty much self-managed. And I say that to say you want to hire people who already have a basic grasp on what needs to be done. So you as a manager, you don't want to get a secretary who is green. You don't want that type of secretary. You don't want to get a secretary who doesn't know anything. You don't want to get somebody who doesn't know anything about coding. If they don't know nothing about coding, then don't even interview them. You don't know nothing about coding. That's not the person you want to pick, because the process of receiving funds for any healthcare facility, any, goes through coding. So if they don't understand it, then guess who's not getting paid? You guys, because you're not bringing in any money. You can have all the customers you like, but if they don't understand the coding process, then that's it. And when I'm talking about coding, you guys probably already know, so I don't need to go into it. So they need to have a grasp on it. You need to have yourself a good RN. You can have an LPN too, but you got to have a good RN who's probably been in the business for about 5 to 7 to 10 years. Probably helps to have two. Have yourself a good RN, and it depends on how many doctors that you're supplying. So most doctors' office, you might have an average of two doctors. So let's just say that you have two doctors that are both PPOs. They're your primary care doctors. They don't really specialize in anything. They're not a podiatrist or proctologist and all that other stuff. They're your PPO. So for your basic wellness checks and things along that line, and then of course they refer you, to hospitals and this, that, and the third. But for your basic checks, that's what your PPO usually does. You got an issue, you call your PPO, you go in and see your PPO, and they look at you and then they diagnose you and then write you out a prescription. You go to Kroger's, you fill your prescription, you take your medicine, all is well in the world. And or they say you need to see a, so if you have some type of foot issue, they're going to send you to a podiatrist, uh, and so on and so forth. Oncology and all that. If you got some cancer, issue, yada yada yada, going to send you to see cancer, doctors and things along that line. So for a basic practice, you have two doctors. You're going to have, okay, your doctors are going to get most of their patients. They don't get them on their own. They're going to get their patients from HMOs. So you have doctors' offices that are standalone complexes, but those offices are getting eaten up, which means they're losing their patients. And this is because there are HMOs that are other doctors have joined, and like Aetna. Aetna is HMO, huge HMO. You know, so Aetna, you might belong to Aetna through the company that you work for. So when you sign an enrollment, when they do enrollment each year, and they said, okay, you get your insurance through where you work at, well, they belong to an HMO. So when you get hurt or something, they send you to a doctor. Well, you can also go to a PPO. Now, when they send you to a doctor at a hospital, that's not usually your PPO, especially if it's an emergency doctor. It's not usually your PPO. That might be your specialist. So if you hurt your hand or something like that, if you hurt your hand or something, that might be a specialist that you go to at the hospital. That's not your PPO. Your PPO is your basic checkup doctor that you go to. But nonetheless, so once you uh, uh, and you see you see them annually and things along that line. So that's your PPO, and that's the difference between your PPO, your HMO, and your right and your specialist doctors. And I'm trying to explain this all in a quick nutshell. Uh, but nonetheless, if you don't have somebody who understands that, and then how that system works, then it's going to slow down all your money. And especially now that coding has changed. So it used to be ICD 9 coding, but now it's ICD 10 coding. And I forgot what the ICD stands for. But nonetheless, when when you if oh, let me explain that. I don't know if you guys know this already, so I'm just explaining it because I don't know if you know it already. If you do, good on you. So ICD coding is basically if you had a problem with your eye. No, let's just take the finger. You had a problem with your finger, right? So let's just say that your finger is broken. You have a compound fracture. Compound fracture, basically, when you broke your phalange, your pointer finger, you could see the break. It's coming through your skin. Compound fracture. Compound fracture, hairline fracture. So you have a compound fracture. They send you to a doctor. Doctor looks at it, operates on you, resets it, yada yada. Uh, what was I going? Okay, so when the doctor looked at your hand and reset your hand, operated on you, and all that other stuff, there are procedure codes that go with that. This is what ICD 9 is. These codes for what is done to you or what will be done to you are understood by the Department of Health. So it's a language that doctors' offices, hospitals, and all healthcare facilities use in order for any procedure to be done and how to bill that procedure. So compound fracture is has a code that goes with it. Let's just say it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, if it's a compound fracture, or let's say it's a hairline fracture, it's for the same finger. Let's say it's a hairline fracture, that has a different code. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, ICD 9 only had that code under 1, 2, 3, 4. See? So they start looking at it and going, well, wait a minute, it's not a compound fracture, it's a hairline fracture. So that's two different codes. So this is why the code splits every now and then. And it becomes it'll be ICD 11, ICD 12, because they're finding that they need more codes for the finger. It's just the finger itself. So let's just say the first three numbers are for the finger. So when you fill out a HICFA form for billing, when a doctor fills it out, they're going to fill out that form and they're going to say, this person has a compound fracture, needs operation, blah, blah, blah. The person in the nurse is going to give that information to billing. They're going to put all that information in a computer. Billing is going to look at that and they're going to write that procedure code out and they're going to put it on a form. I think it's a HICFA. But when they put that on that form, they're going to send that form to your insurance. When they send that form to your insurance is going to, depends on your copay, your insurance is going to pay for that procedure. It all depends on how you have it set up. You might be Medicare, you might be an older person, so it all depends. So you might not have a copay, you might have a copay. Me, I don't have a copay. So Medicare, Medicaid depends on how poor you are and how much money you have. All that might go directly to you because you have money. So next thing you know, you get a $10,000 bill, and that's not mine. Because you have $10.
going off. That's weird. Because you have a $10,000 bill, okay, so that money's going to come. That's going to come. Hold on a second, you guys. I got to find out what the hell is going on. All right, that's not mine. Okay, so anyways, so yeah, so ICD-9 is a procedure coding, or ICD-10 now are procedure codings, and that's how billing pretty much takes place. So the insurance companies know what to pay, and yeah, so they know they're paying for a broken finger, and what kind of broken finger, where the finger was broken, which finger it was, things along that line. So it's very important. So if I'm going to go to another country, I can, use my degree. But the problem, okay, so I'll read this in there. One of the problems with other countries, going to other countries, is when you move to another country, of course you got to take care of yourself. You got to infiltrate yourself into their system, their financial system, their healthcare system, their social system. But you also have to embed yourself into their way of life. You know, you just can't. Yeah, that's not my alarm. You have to embed yourself into their way of life, and you have to make sure there's room for you. You do, because you can go to a place that their finances are not falling apart, but for what you do, there might not be room for you. So, of course, healthcare is big everywhere, but the way our healthcare system is set up is not set up the same everywhere. Like an LPN here is not an LPN in Spain. It's different. Although the body is the same, the way they do things can be different. It's just not the same all over the world, especially when you start going to second and third world countries, if that's where you choose to live. Uh, so the way an office is set up here might not be the way an office is set up there, and we already know this is true. I've watched enough documentaries on healthcare to know that a lot of offices are not set up the same because the billing is not the same. That's for one. In some cases, there is no healthcare system. Okay, let me say this. There are a lot of countries that have universal healthcare, but when you have universal healthcare, this, for one, drives up the taxes. Also, it makes healthcare somewhat affordable for everyone. Like everyone's supposed to be able to afford healthcare. But when you make healthcare affordable for everyone, it doesn't make the healthcare up to par for everyone. So you may get healthcare in the United States that you feel is, up to, standard. However, you go to Canada and they have universal healthcare, and you're just like, I've been waiting in the emergency room for the last day. Now, we already have a problem with our emergency time here. We also have a problem with people checking into the hospital and not coming home, you know, in the thousands, almost 100,000, within a few years. So those are large numbers of people who go to the hospital and die. And they were just there for a checkup. They don't make it. So you have that issue. And of course, you also have the racism issues where, some people are second class citizens and others are treated, who have less severe issues and are treated first. So, that's big over here. But that's also the same in other countries. So, and then you have the education system itself. So, right now, Asians are competing in the healthcare system. Well, let me say this: Asians are competing in the education system for European educations. And so are people from India. It's not to say that they're not as smart as America is, but whoever has the gold makes the rules. And European countries have the gold, so they make the rules. Somewhat, because China has more money than anybody. But nonetheless, so what they're doing is they're paying for American style schools to be based in their country and for their kids to go to these colleges. But when they go to these colleges, these kids aren't learning anything. And when I say anything, I mean absolutely nothing. They go there and they sit there and they stare. For one, they don't speak the language. Everybody, listen, English is a second and first language to most people, but Asians, not so much. They don't really feel the need to learn English. You know, there are more Asians on the planet than there are any other, nationality. So you have huge barriers to learning the European way of healthcare, or a lot of other subjects. So what they're doing is they're getting these degrees by, sometimes they go online, sometimes they'll just go online. I think you guys are asking me questions. Okay, so sometimes they'll go online, and when they go online, they have uh, companies in India that set up fake degrees. So the company in India will say, so the company in India will say, we'll have a fake university, and you'll say, I need a doctorate in psychology. And you'll pay, I don't know how many thousands of dollars. And next thing you know, they'll issue you a one of these. Issue you one of these. But it won't be this pretty. This is a college diploma, a degree. And you'll get one. Nice and pretty, and you paid for it. So you have that energy going on, and you have the Asian market that are going to these colleges, but they're not learning anything. You have that going on. So if you're someone with a degree and you want to use your degree in one of these other countries, you have to understand it can be your degree, your profession can be diluted. And there can be, you can come up against a wave of rejection that you didn't foresee because you didn't understand the culture of that country. You know what I'm saying? You didn't understand the dynamic of that country and what you're up against. You thought because you had a degree, you'll just go settle here and everybody, give you a job no, it just doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that, here in America either. But so just to let you know, there's I've been doing my homework for a while now, and I'm not just blowing smoke. I'm not just saying it to get views because those videos don't get a lot of views. I'm saying it to say I really do want to leave America, but leaving America and stabilizing yourself is not as easy as it should be. You know, I've seen people who've left America live in different countries, and these countries that they live in, they find jobs. Some of them, find jobs as teachers and things along that, line. Skilled workers and, so on and so forth, But they're facing the same thing a lot of us are facing. Uh, how long are they going to keep that job? Is that job paying them enough? Is the school system is the school system on the same level as the American school system? And sometimes that's a resounding no. And it's not to say the kid isn't as smart, but the barrier to entry might not be in your country or in the country that you just settled in and I'm talking about for a good job. Right now, America is setting a lot of the rules. They're setting a lot of the standards. And when it comes to healthcare, let me put it to you like this. While I was seeking my degree, I was looking at things like occupational therapy. So I called around to a few schools. And while I was looking at these schools were warning me about other schools. It's just like some jealousy going on. But they're pitted against each other because of the student. The student brings in the money. But here's the thing. Let's say Brown Mackey. I don't know if you guys know about Brown Mackey College or if there's one in your area. Brown Mackey is a school that nurses go to. So CNA, SDNA, RN, LPN, they go to these schools. Nonetheless, the license that you get to practice medicine is not LI Med. So, and the tuition is sky high. It's ridiculous. I actually went to one and I was like, your tuition is just crazy. I never went back. Then you go to a state school. You go to OU. So I called down to OU, and I actually went down there too, and I was interested, and they were like, yeah, we have that. We have that degree. It'll be a 2-year wait. I was like, wait, what? It'd be like, yeah, it's a 2-year wait. I'm like, is it LI Med? They're like, yep, it's LI Med. Um, LI Med is it's not a language. I don't know how to explain it. I guess I would have to look it up. But basically, if you learned in a school that has LI Med, this is the most common certificate that you can get. So it's a protocol of learning that these schools use. So OU, OSU, a lot of these other big hospitals, uh, big healthcare hospitals, they're gonna accept somebody who has an LI Med certificate. But if you don't, they're not gonna accept you because they think that there's something in your training that you missed. And they'll even tell you, and they'll even tell you, they'll say, you need to go back and learn this. They will. You know what I'm saying? And then there's some doctor's offices that'll be like, that's fine. We take people from Brown Mackie all the time. Well, they have to because, or else Brown Mackie wouldn't exist. But there are other schools that are like this. Those schools have a name. I forgot what they call them. Not charter schools, but nonetheless, they pop up all over the place and they go around the LI Med certificate requirements. And when you do that and you pay all these thousands of dollars to get this degree, you'll find very quickly that that degree is not accepted everywhere. So LI Med, like my degree is I don't have a certificate, I have a degree. So I didn't have to fall up under those standards. But let's just say that I wanted to go get an STNA or one of those. I would still have to, even though I have a bona fide degree from Franklin University, I would still, if I want to practice some type of nursing or whatever, I would still have to have LI Med in order to get into OSU. They don't care about what I got from Franklin. They'd be like, if you want to be a manager, that's fine. But you're not going to be a practicing nurse manager. And there are such things. There are nurses who are actual managers you know, over their departments. You'll find a lot of doctors who are also managers and things along that type. But when it comes to healthcare management, you're gonna find doctors. Some of them are CEOs, CEO, CFO. They're the ones who handle, you know, all the incomings and outgoings. You'll find that, and then you'll find someone like me who has a management degree, and they might be the CEO. Like I believe the CEO of shoot, some major healthcare system down here. I don't think that person's a doctor, millionaire, like multi millionaire, and so just wanted to fill you guys in on some of that. If you're looking to move to another country, make sure that your trade is applicable, because if it's not, you're gonna be stuck, and that's not what you want. So you do your research. Young people just want to just get out there, and that's cool. Go visit. If you have somebody live there or somebody's been there before, talk to them about it. If you don't have a degree, okay, fine. What's your trade? Uh, don't be in a millennial state of mind where everything's just going to work out for you because you're going to be tucking tail and coming home real quick. And that's not what you want to do. That's a lot of time and money wasted. Uh, I say if you don't have a certificate, if you're an older person, 30, 40, and you don't have a certificate, get one, but get one in something that's, like I said, it's applicable. And just because something's hot here, accounting is hot here. Accounting may not be hot in Belize. Nobody cares. I don't want you to be an accountant. You know what I'm saying? You might have, be out there and uh, a mechanic make more money. You know what I'm saying? An airplane mechanic. You know what I'm saying? Or a uh, uh, truck mechanic or something like that will make probably more money. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm just saying, pick a couple countries that you want to go to, and then make sure whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, whatever country that you're trying to live in, even the area, like pick an area. Like I know if I go and live in Germany, I don't want to live in Frankfurt because that's the city. I want to live out in Darmstadt. I've lived there before. I liked it. It was chill. I didn't. I lived on the base, but nonetheless, I would travel around the base. So I would, I know where the Bahnhof is and all that. You know what I'm saying? So I would want to live out there, in Germany, in the same kind of area. It seemed pretty peaceful. That was years ago. I would want to visit first before I actually settled there. But you know, that's where I would aim towards. So yeah, make sure it's all about money. If another thing is if you have residual income, it's a plus. If you have an income that you don't have to get up and go to work for every day, and it's gonna be there every day, like that money's coming in. Big ups to you. Also, you have to check the European rate. So the value of the dollar is less than the mark, or not the mark anymore. That was the Deutschmark. That was Germany. The value of the dollar it was less than the Deutschmark, but now they're using the euro. So the euro is more valuable than the dollar. But that changes. So you got to watch that whenever you go to trade. Like when I went to France, you know, at that time they didn't take the American dollar. So we had to trade. As soon as you get off the train, you hand them $50, they hand you 30, you know, euros. You're just like, wait a minute. I thought I was supposed to get no. The dollar is less than the euro. You know what I'm saying? So, but if I handed them, on my way out, if I'm like, I don't need these euros anymore, I got 50 euros, um, then I probably get back $80. You feel me? So, that's speculating, but nonetheless, the dollar is less than the euro. So, you got to keep that in mind. Whenever you're going to visit another country, look at what their financial system is and what their trade system is, and you can find all that online. What their trade system is, um, you might look at the yen, or the peso, and say, oh, 500 pesos, I got a lot. Turns out it's only $10. You know what I'm saying? Or the yen or something like that. Sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. So, don't get got. So there's all that. It's just things you got to look into. That's why it takes a minute to get up and leave. Eh. sometimes you just might move to a country somewhere and just say, I'm gonna stay in America, but I'm gonna live further outside of the city. Less hassle, but less convoluted. The less likely you are to run into anyone. But nonetheless, the land that you live on is not yours. It's all the government's. And they make that very clear. They can invade your space whenever they want to. That was one reason why I wanted to leave, because if you buy land, it's not your land. The government can come onto your land whenever they want to, and they can take your land. And if you don't let them take it, then they can pretty much blow you up whenever they want. So there's that. I hope I answered some of you guys' questions. You guys got any more questions? Try to answer for you. Got any more questions, guys? Any of you guys Game of Thrones fans? No? Okay. Well, it's been nice chatting with you guys. Not unless you guys got more questions for me. Oh, you're a Game of Thrones fan? Well, I was thinking about doing a live Game of Thrones. So, if you want to, I'll do that. I'll come back and I'll. Okay, so you know, yeah. Okay, so Muna. All right, so Muna, this is what I'm gonna do. I don't know if that's a woman's name or a man's name, but I'm gonna end this live. Yeah, I'm coming back in like a few minutes. As soon as I put everything up, I'm just gonna. You're a woman, okay? Hey, I just want to be safe. I'm coming right back. So yeah, like five, not even 5 minutes. I'm just gonna end this chat. I'm gonna make another one, and boom, go and get it started. All right. All right. So I'm gonna come right back in just a few minutes.